Greetings and welcome to the United States Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon. My name is Gennady Stoliarov II, and I am the chairman of the U.S. Transhumanist Party. Here we hold conversations with some of the world's leading thinkers in longevity, science, technology, philosophy, and politics. Like the philosophers of the Age of Enlightenment, we aim to connect every field of human endeavor and arrive at new insights to achieve longer lives, greater rationality, and the progress of our civilization. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our United States Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon of Sunday, June 8th, 2025. We are going to offer a discussion for you today of startup cities and the potential for such startup cities and free economic zones to bring about opportunities for the dramatic acceleration of life extension research. So joining us today is our distinguished panel of U.S. Transhumanist Party officers, including our Director of Visual Art and current Vice Chairman, Art Ramon Garcia, our Director of Publication, Zach Richardson. As well, we have our Technology Advisor and Foreign Ambassador in Spain, Dr. Jose Cordero, and our special guest today is Laurence Ion. Laurence Ion is an entrepreneur who previously co-created various decentralized organizations such as VITADAO and JellyfishDAO, whose representatives we have had on previous Virtual Enlightenment Salons. And he has also co-founded longevity-focused communities such as Zuzalu, the pop-up city in Montenegro, and Vitalia, the longevity city pop-up city that existed until earlier this year in Roatan. Roatan is an island on the territory of Honduras. Vitalia existed within the Prospera Free Economic Zone. And now Laurence is spearheading the creation of Viva City, which is a permanent city for people who prioritize longevity and wish to pursue rapid innovations to attain it. And he is also in the midst of organizing what will be a near-term step toward that goal, Viva Frontier Tower, a 6-week program in San Francisco, which will take place soon between June 20th and August 4th, 2025. So thank you very much, Laurence, for joining us. Welcome, and please tell us more. Also, I understand you have a presentation, so feel free to pull that up as well. But what initially got you into this field of creating these in-depth longevity-focused organizations and communities?
Yeah, my pleasure to be here. I'm actually in the tower, and people are buzzing here. I can show you around a little bit if you want. There's a hackathon going on. This tower is a 16-floor building that we're bringing our community into, and I'll tell you more about that. In terms of what got me into this, I think it's hard to know what would have happened otherwise, but because I was born with rare genetic disease, I have all these tumors, dozens of tumors, bone tumors that are benign, but they could become cancerous. And, growing up, I've had many surgeries. I've spent a lot of time in hospitals, and I do have a lot of joint pains, and I've suffered a lot. I've dealt with the idea of, what if I don't wake up from general anesthesia, potentially some out-of-body experiences, and thinking from a very young age about death, about frailty, and although I had some kind of a detour towards the tech industry, I didn't really know that such a thing as biotech and really advanced, we could create advanced medicine to stop aging. I didn't know that's a possibility, so I kind of I was quite on the spectrum, and I couldn't really talk to people much, so I couldn't become a doctor. I was good at math and computers, and so I went into engineering, tech startups. And at some point, I was in a sabbatical, and I was thinking about what matters most. I was having this bad ankle pain for a few years, and I was contemplating like, okay, this is going to get worse as I age for everyone, you know, and like whatever happened with that field of longevity research, you know. I was researching about how to live healthier and longer, more like on the nutrition side. I was very disappointed with the science. It's like such a soft science. We don't really know anything. I started looking into the longevity field more, and I realized my optimism isn't well founded on that, because it had been more than a decade since I last looked at it, and it didn't seem like it progressed more. So I decided to just change my career. It was a bit scary to leave my career in like tech, startups, apps, consumer apps. I was good at that, and I had to build something. And I was like, okay, I'm starting from scratch. I'm going to go learn biology again. And I was passionate about it when I was younger, but I kind of had to start from scratch. But I was like, nothing else matters, right? Like, at least short to medium term, it's going to be important to our health. And at least I can say, even if we don't succeed, I can say I've tried my best, you know, and that doesn't make sense to work on anything else, because once we can be healthy and live longer, then we have time to do everything else, right? And I really am curious to see the future. I love life, and I wouldn't want to die as long as I'm healthy. And even if I'm not healthy, honestly, I've not been healthy a lot of my life, so I still love life. I just work on improving that situation, and I think I always keep hope.
How did you draw the connection between, like, I have a rare genetic disease that's affecting me and causing like my life to be in risk, to I want to help everybody avoiding dying in general? It seems like there's a bit of a leap there that it takes a certain mind to take, and I'd like to know what led you to make that jump.
And I was passionate about science fiction and a bunch of these futuristic ideas from also I don't know, learning online and other books that are not science fiction, more popular science. And so it just made sense to me, like, why would people suffer and age and die? But I kind of always thought it's not my field, and it's those guys are going to fix it. Like Aubrey de Grey and the others. I was watching TED a lot. So when Aubrey's TED talk in 2007 came out, I was like, okay, you know, this guy's got a long beard, British accent. They've got it, you know, it's going to happen. And then I was like, well, because I was more present, I think most people's attention is not on it, right? And even my attention, I was like, okay, all great. But my attention was on other things, making money, making a name for myself, probably to prove to my bullies and prove to, my teachers, my dad, whatever, that I'm going to be successful. And like, you know, I was reading, I was a good programmer. I won this grand prize. I was a grand prize winner in an international competition by Google. They brought me here. I started reading Paul Graham and meeting a bunch of the top startups at the time, about 13 years ago. And yeah, it was just all about making apps and so on. So that's kind of where I went, and my attention was on that. And then having these health issues probably brought my attention back to what really matters. And having a sabbatical also, you know, having a lot of time to meditate and really just think about what matters most, existence itself, how things are like the future is affecting my present meditation moment, you know, the future I'm living into, which is like degeneration, aging, and dying. So I was like, this doesn't make sense. So let's help the field. And of course, it's like, also I was driven by impact, and I realized there's nothing else that would have more impact. Of course, if maybe there is an exception here. If an asteroid would come to Earth and would, you know, destroy Earth, I would work on that, right? I wouldn't work on aging. There might be arguments that artificial superintelligence is coming sooner than aging, would kill most of the humans alive, and you know, AI could kill all of us and so on. But that's kind of hypothetical. It's pretty hard to estimate. I'm not sure. I am struggling to figure out when that would happen, how likely it is that it would be a bad scenario. So, but like I know aging is 100% going to kill us. So I take a Bayesian approach. It's, you know, maybe not 100% now. It's we might be killed by other things. So it's 99-ish or 90-ish. Like 99-ish% of my attention goes towards fixing aging. And then I also pay a little bit of attention at other risks. Is there a comet, an asteroid coming? Is there, you know, a pandemic that's going to kill all of us? Is
Nuclear
there
war or something like
nuclear
that.
war? Is there, like, I pay a bit of attention to that, but like, what is the main thing? Aging. Okay. That's where we got to put most of our efforts as a society. At least 1% of GDP, $1 trillion, maybe on the order of a few million people working on this as like a Manhattan project, a Apollo project, you know, type scenario, coordinating in a way as a large number of people. If I was US president, you know, I would probably go and declare like, by the end of the century, we're going to solve aging, right? Like with the Apollo project, but I'm not. So I think rather than hoping to gain so much power and do it top down, my approach and my nature too is more bottom up, a decentralized approach by the people for the people. I'm gathering people in these communities as you've outlined earlier to coordinate better with frontier technologies, using AI, using crypto, and many of these to solve, initially focus on aging as the biggest problem, and solve that.
Well, that sort of brings me to my next question, which is when it comes to some of these like high risk, high reward, but also like very likely to be technically successful projects. The first one that comes to mind is cryonics. I know Longevity Biotech Fellowship, I spoke with Mark Hamelainen for just a minute online, but you know, we've had he's interested also in the cryostasis, or I think they're calling it biostasis now. It seems like a very good bridge for getting to point A to point B. But our chairman, Gennady, has a bit of a theory that if you're frozen to the point where you're in stasis, then maybe that doesn't preserve the I-ness of the self. So would you consider that something that is like a viable theory approach? Because it seems like in that case, that would be a great area to put a lot of energy into. And also, with LBF, I'm hearing about replacement biotech. One thing I had heard some people say is there was a guy, Micah Mills, and he mentioned like all of this stuff about healthy aging is really just a misnomer. And if we're trying to just slow down the pace of us getting old and dying, we're just kind of slowing down the pace of us getting old and dying. We're not approaching a transhumanist reality. We're just getting healthy for a little bit, but still caving into our own biology. So what do you think about maybe like replacement and or cryostasis, or do you also believe in healthy aging?
I came from the mission of course, I love life, and I have these futuristic ambitions. I want to see a world without aging, and then also got a bit distracted with, you know, nutrition science and being healthier, and yeah, just super passionate about scientific method and trying to approach that. And I actually did experiments on myself, where I actually did cure my ankle pain that I was mentioning earlier, for example, and I've improved a lot of things about my body. I don't know exactly how. That's the issue, because you try a bunch of things, and I don't know if it was a coincidence or I actually causally changed something. But yeah, I realized this healthy aging, or like trying to be healthier with diet and exercise and sleep and a few interventions like that, that's not going to take us very far. So yes, replacement is great as a short to medium term solution until we figure out the bioengineering in a more advanced way, because we need super advanced therapies. Like our current drugs that pharma comes out with are mostly like small molecules, some biologics here, very rarely a gene therapy. They're doing very simple things, mainly we've had a lot of success with infectious disease, right? But with chronic complex diseases such as the age-related diseases, Alzheimer's, cancer, heart disease, and so on, we're barely putting a dent. We're trying to kind of manage the symptoms a little bit. People have this issue here, so you attack with the small molecule in this metabolic pathway and you do that, and then something else happens with the liver, so you give them this and that, and you're trying to kind of, it's like, I see it as this like super complex machine, like the metabolism, right? The Rube Goldberg machine, and you kind of throw some wrenches in it. It doesn't go that far. We need very, very advanced therapies such as gene therapy, cell therapies, biologics, bioelectricity, and so on. And we're very, very far away from figuring this out. So that's why replacement, short to medium term, it makes a lot of sense. I actually did start out thinking about this. I was like, at least going to replace all my organs and try to live a little bit longer. Then, of course, with the brain, there's the idea of ship of Theseus, replacing pieces of it. That's invasive with surgery, but there's also startups working on replacing more like cell by cell with non-surgical pathways, and those are really interesting. It's hard, but I hope they succeed in that. So yeah, replacing organs, and then replacing potentially your whole body. I know it's kind of out there, but it's interesting to look. I'm very open to all kinds of ideas, right? And that could buy us more time. And then worst case, plan, that's like I see it as plan B, because I wouldn't want to do surgery. Ideally, we have amazing drugs that and gene therapies and so on that go inside and fix everything, maybe even nanotechnology eventually, right? Although, of course, gene therapy teaching your cells, they're kind of like these nano robots to do things in your body, it's kind of close to nanotechnology. Until we figure that out, we might have to do surgery and work on replacement as plan B. And there is a pathway we can see. The tech tree is not so complicated to get the replacement done. A few $1 billion, 7 to 15 years, something like that seems feasible. Maybe even faster if we have a special jurisdiction, which I'm working on, and I'll tell you more about. But then plan C is cryopreservation. In case we have an accident or we get some terminal disease, or even just age, which is a terminal disease, right? Like if we get too old, by the time replacement is in, or by the time bioengineering is advanced enough to fix these issues, we can cryopreserve ourselves for sure.
Yes, very good. And Laurence, I understand that you have a PowerPoint presentation, so please feel free to pull that up. And in the meantime, I will share a comment from our Director of Citizen and Community Science, Daniel Tweed, who writes, "Health and the time to enjoy it are indeed the greatest wealth." And this is what you were discussing. Of course, even if one is not in optimal health, being alive is still better than not being alive. And that is an important point that you made as well, that all of us are going to be experiencing health challenges to some extent in the course of our lives, and persevering through them, figuring out ways to ameliorate them, is also extremely important. And now, while Laurence is pulling up his slides, we also can share some links to prior virtual enlightenment salons with individuals who are mentioned. Mark Hamalainen, for example, I visited him and Anastasia Yegorova in their longevity lodge in Lake Tahoe, and we had the longevity fireside chat about the longevity biotech fellowship and Mark's thoughts about the prospects for various life extension approaches and strategies. And we also had virtual enlightenment salons with Kai Micah Mills on HydraDAO and CryoDAO as well. So please check those out. Here's the CryoDAO Virtual Enlightenment Salon, and I believe Laurence is ready with his slides. So please begin.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is a concept for Viva City. We're building an actual permanent new city, a charter city for longevity. It's gonna have a special jurisdiction to allow faster innovation, take away the the bureaucracy, the over-regulation that we have in most of the developed world, where we could and want to live. So yeah, we need a city, just like the Manhattan Project had Los Alamos, right, where top experts gathered, but also everyone. It's amazing to live healthy together. When you're in a community where all the food is healthy, right? It's easy to eat healthy by default, right? When you see other people exercising and so on, and they inspire me to also exercise and kind of close my laptop and go join them, do some yoga or whatever there. We are social animals. The environment you're in shapes you a lot, and it's very hard if I'm by myself trying to have all these healthy habits. If other people go to bed like early, I can also do that. If the lights, in my environment go red at night and so on, which we do have this in this tower here in San Francisco as one of the communities. I'll tell you more about it. So yeah, we want to accelerate medical innovation first, but all innovation generally, have a broad level of autonomy in this special jurisdiction. It's also amazing to live in an intentional city. We've done some experiments and it's been life-changing for a lot of us. So yeah, health, of course, is the most important. Everyone says health is the most important, but somehow a lot of people, they're not very present to this idea. I'm happy that I am, and that this led me, even with my health issues, it led me on this path, and I'm optimistic that we can actually put a dent in aging in the next. My goal is honestly 9 years, because I'm reaching in my 40s and my parents are getting older, and yeah, I think we need an ambitious goal. And I do want to make this interact. Can people actually say something, or it's only chat? It's only
chat, but people can chat whatever messages they want.
Yeah, so maybe don't this is like a presentation that I had physically, so people would shout out, but you can write in the chat. So if something resonates with you, right there, dude, right? And if something bores you, right there, boring. And I will interactively improve the presentation and know for the future as well. Feedback is great. And if you don't get something, just right there, I don't get it, and I will. The guys will tell me, and I can say more. So nobody wants to end up like this, right? You don't want to age and be sick in a hospital bed, which 80% of people spend. 80% of people over 65 have at least 2 age-related diseases, and 80% of healthcare spend is in your last year of life, generally in a poor health condition, mostly in a hospital bed. And also, this is healthy aging, right? Like, a lot of people think, I want to be like this, be able to exercise, run marathons, be feeling great, even though I'm old. But actually, this is not great either, I'm telling you. What you really want is something like this. If you know Justin Timberlake's In Time movie, he was presenting his mother, his wife, and his daughter, right? And they all are in perfect peak health, youthful. Everyone is useful and great. So the vision is that in the 2030s, within 5 to 15 years, my goal is like 9. Within 5 to 15 years, we will restore youth, just like Ozempic is making the rounds, and people are like, wow, amazing, we finally have something to make people thinner, solve weight loss. The same, I hope in the 2030s, people will see this, not perfect, not, be 25 to 30-year-old like the movie, but something where you make 90 the new 50 or something like that. You get some rejuvenation in the 2030s, even if you don't fully solve the problem. That's the vision. So how do we get there? Luckily, of course, I'm sure many of you know that drugs that target aging are the future of medicine. This is a better approach. Instead of managing symptoms, we address the root cause of disease, aging itself. You probably know, right, that aging has been slowed and reversed in lab animals by dozens of pharmaceutical interventions. This is possible. It's great news. There's no such thing as dying from natural causes. Everyone gets one of these diseases. That's exponentially, all of these diseases go up in incidence over time at an exponential rate. So you're gonna die from one of these. If not, probably you're gonna have more after you're 65, more than one, and it's not great. Of course, all of us will have sarcopenia, muscle loss, bone loss, vision loss, all these things. It doesn't feel great to age unless we do something about it. And also, it's economically unsustainable. We have an inverted pyramid of more people over 65 now than people under 5, and these kids under 5 are mostly in developing nations. They're not going to be able to sustain pensions and sick care, elderly care. Instead, let's flip this script, rejuvenate people, people that are now old and need hospital care, hospice, elderly care. Let's bring them back to youth. It's going to be great for them. They're going to stop suffering. It's going to be great for their kids that have to take care of them instead of being productive. Great for the economy. Win-win-win all across. It's so much better. Instead of paying a huge percentage of GDP in cost for elderly people and them suffering, they can now bring their wisdom and all their talent and that compounding knowledge over time. They can live longer, be healthier, and contribute to the economy and actually grow it. And I see hyper growth. I see hyper exponential growth if we can rejuvenate people. So of course we want to. There's this health span thing, right? Like we want to extend the healthy lifespan. But as a side effect, of course, you also increase lifespan. I don't think it doesn't make any sense to me, this debate of health span versus lifespan. You can't keep people in a poor state of health for much longer. You need to extend the healthy, like make people be healthy. And of course, if you're healthy, you don't die. So lifespan will be also increased. You do both at the same time. There are these promising approaches, right? The damage repair approach with SENS and Aubrey de Grey and so on. There's the cellular partial reprogramming approach, which has gotten a lot of hype, right? From David Sinclair's lab being very popular to Calico and Alto's labs getting billions, and New Limit with Brian Armstrong and so on. Retro, funded by Sam Altman and so on. And OpenAI making an actual GPT specifically for helping retro and look at aging and especially reprogramming. Yeah, this is really cool. And then we've talked a bit about replacement, right? This is another approach that is little talked about, replacing tissue, replacing organs, and maybe whole body. Then there's other things that are little talked about, like continuous hormonal rebalancing. In Vitalia, we have a company, and also they're setting up in this Frontier Tower in San Francisco too, a company is doing implants and can potentially replace, give you the hormones at the level of a young person, and see if that helps with aging, and so on. I would like to explore even more ideas by electricity and so on. And yeah, humans coordinate to achieve amazing things. I've talked about the Apollo Project, Manhattan Project. We need to coordinate at that level. Stop fucking around and really declare war against aging. Literal all-out war. Like we've seen with COVID, there was this new virus and people are like, oh my God, so many of my friends just stopped every startup they were doing. They stopped other projects and they started working on COVID testing and all kinds of coordination level. I think we need to look at it this way. And, a lot of us see aging as a crisis, just like the human society, the world saw COVID as a crisis, but most people don't. So it's pretty hard. We're shouting in the void, kind of. It's such a small, not well coordinated community, and we need to do better. And that's why I think we need to, first of all, coordinate online with things like decentralized science. We, as a community, bottom up, can coordinate without asking for permission from institutions, centralized institutions, to fund science, execute science, and publish science in a new way, using crypto as a layer to coordinate and create those incentives that open science didn't used to have. You can't just expect people to publish everything freely and not have any reward in terms of citations and reputation or money or anything like that. The world works on incentives. And so crypto can create those better incentive mechanisms. It's a new form of money, and money is a way to coordinate people towards a goal. So with crypto, there's a way to create new forms of coordination mechanisms that are also unstoppable and censorship resistant. And with as a member, early founding member of VItaDAO, I know as a decentralized big community of over 10,000 members, we can coordinate using this token Vita to fund early stage aging research, spin out longevity biotech companies as a first example of a community being able to get something done in a decentralized manner, fund dozens of projects, deploy millions of dollars to actually accelerate things from academia into industry so that they can further be developed and reach eventually clinical trials and have medicine on the market. You can, this Vita token gives you one vote, one token, one vote, and you can contribute, anyone can contribute capital because it's permissionless. You don't have any of the traditional financial issues. You can contribute $1, $1,000, whatever, and you get these tokens and you can vote with them, and then you can sell them if you don't want them anymore, if you don't believe in what we're doing anymore. So it's not a donation, but it's also not a usual, it's a different kind of thing. And then you can also earn Vita tokens by contributing your work. It's also permissionless to join the DAO and do bounties, contribute your resources as well, IP or ideas. Yeah. So one of our projects was ready for clinical trials at some point, and I realized how long it's going to take to go through clinical trials, how pharma has to put up the billions of dollars that it takes to bring a new drug to market, and they don't really get this new approach to medicine. And this asset we had, it wasn't that attractive to pharma. And yeah, how do you get all that money, and how long will it take? I realized, yeah, we need to exit the status quo. And as we have this new type of organization that's online, we want to give people not online medicine, but like real medicine. So we need the physical jurisdiction too, to get over the problem of overregulation. There's this invisible graveyard, people dying, waiting for medicine that would have potentially saved their lives. There's this paternalistic, monopolistic paradigm where you only can take a drug if the FDA, the government, says it's okay, right? It doesn't allow medical freedom. It doesn't allow my body, my choice, my freedom to do what I want with my body, because it punishes whoever would give me that medicine. And yeah, I just think it's just crazy the way it's set up. I mean, I see it as like setting the speed limit at 4 miles an hour out of a fear that, oh, if you're trying to increase the speed limit, people will die. Well, of course, more people would die if we had the speed limit at 4 miles an hour right now, because yeah, we couldn't get food into cities, we couldn't get to the hospital on time, and so on. It's just not, it doesn't make sense. And also, we can be rigorous in terms of safety, but still move fast. The current paradigm, I think, with FDA and pharma, it's actually not that rigorous. I'm very disappointed. Safety is not that preserved. So it's like you're just taking longer and also not being as safe as you could. So we gotta do better, be safer and faster when it comes to developing new drugs, and allow patients to choose. Yeah, if you have someone who has a terminal disease, it's crazy that you can allow euthanasia, right? I am for allowing people to choose euthanasia, but why don't you also allow them before euthanasia, which is like 100% chance of death, allow them to work with researchers and try something, even if they're in a coma, right? Like, just maybe there can be something that can fix that. Science can evolve and they get a chance. And of course, you want to make sure there's no snake oil incentives. There's, not people, you don't have people taking advantage, trying to profit. So in our jurisdiction, we want to only allow you to sell things at cost. So you don't make any profit unless you prove efficacy. But allow people to try, as long as something is proven safe, then anyone should be able to purchase that at cost. And then you do want to also coordinate to get that efficacy data. That's what matters in the end, right? And then you can make a profit. So yeah, the problem is the severe overregulation. Takes billions of dollars and decades to bring a new drug to market. There's this winding road that makes no sense. And yeah, with 10 years of inaction, there's a huge cost. That's what regulators don't see. They're great people, very smart. I know a lot of them, they want to do good. It's just that they're in a system which only optimizes for the cost of approving a drug, a false positive, right? Approving a drug that has some side effects and maybe kills people, right? And you're just trying to not, like, you're worried about a few people potentially dying if you move too fast. And then, yeah, you don't see the cost of inaction, the invisible graveyard, the millions and millions of people dying because you didn't approve a drug fast enough. There's 10,000 people in just the US dying every year from cancer, where otherwise they would have been saved with just the drugs that existed that year, right? If we just allow them to try. I know there's a right to try, but it's really complicated. We don't have a good system here. So that's on the terminal disease part. But like, also, yeah, you just gotta let people choose. Like, some people are suffering, then maybe they go to suicide because they don't have any solution, right? Who are you to tell me what I can and cannot do with my body? And yeah, I know people might make mistakes. We do in our city, we're gonna have a filtered community, truth-seeking approach. We're not gonna allow snake oil salesmen, right? We do want to be very rigorous on safety too. The smartest, most aligned people initially that really can be have informed consent. And yeah, I want to see this be tried out, and actually many such experiments. We want to see a sandbox where we try out different things, and maybe the rest of the world can see what works and incorporate that. So yeah, the solution, this special jurisdiction, freedom to experiment, a regulatory framework that allows this warp speed drug development. Like we've seen with COVID, we had Operation Warp Speed. We had an advanced therapy, a vaccine, be developed in just 8 months. It could have been done in 4 months if we allowed challenge trials, from what I understand. And yeah, we just got to treat aging with the same level of urgency and create Operation Warp Speed for Alzheimer's, for cancer, for heart disease, for aging itself, and just be very rigorous in safety trials and go from a promising therapy to life-saving drug directly. So yeah, there's this idea of voice versus exit, reform versus creating a new system. And I very much appreciate efforts such as A4LI, Alliance for Longevity Initiatives, Transhumanist Party, like working within the system to have a voice, to change the system, reform. But I also think maybe 80% of the effort should be on reform. My focus is on a hedge, on the 20%. What if the system doesn't change fast enough? What if we wake up in 20 years and we're still really, really slow? It still takes 10, 20 years to bring a new drug to market. We have this iteration feedback loop that's just so slow that we realize, like, oh shit, we're not gonna make it. I don't want to end up there. I support reform, but also I'm working on the hedge. I'm working on exit make this sandbox, make this special jurisdiction. And yes, as a community, we have this power of leverage. We have leverage. We can create our own laws and regulations. We can self-govern. Like, who are them to tell us how we can live our life? What laws and regulations? How we do clinical trials? How we experiment with our own body? If we're in a city with a special jurisdiction where we control the laws as a community, bottom up, as a DAO, like VItaDAO having an actual physical jurisdiction. Yeah, like, we have the right and the leverage to say it's up to us. We live here, we say what the laws are. And I highly recommend watching Dallas Buyers Club, a movie that is clearly a big inspiration, showing how a community of AIDS patients coordinated to create a buyers club, a sort of OG proto DAO, a members club where they went around the FDA, solved their own issue, just direct as a club, by the people, for the people. It's really fascinating how a community can coordinate and achieve major things, and then with protests, ACT UP, and others, they've actually managed to also lobby the FDA and speed up approval of drugs that were saving their lives. And I also started, apart from VItaDAO, also a similar idea of, instead of so having a community with a token, the Jelly token, about to be launched, JellyfishDAO, coordinating not to fund biotech companies or aging research and start biotech companies, but rather fund movie ideas and start new movies, produce them, promote them as a community. And my biggest focus is on Hollywood type, drama movies that can influence millions of people, inspire them about the world without aging. Honestly, all these rational arguments I give, I don't think they change many minds. It's all just talk. I think you need to inspire people with the story, take them through a hero's journey, so movies can really scale our ideas to people that haven't heard about these things and that would be willing to contribute to our mission. So yeah, my dream is that we can have this warp speed for aging, bring new drugs to market within months on the order of $1 million instead of billions of dollars. And it's possible. We've seen this happen. Create this Los Alamos type thing. There's this idea of network state by Balaji Srinivasan, where you have an online community aligned for collective action, something like VItaDAO, that then crowdfunds territory around the world. You have more members and more GDP, and square footage, and you become as big as a lot of countries, and you're like, wait, why don't we get declared as a country, as this archipelago, even though it's not like a continuous geographic area? And I think it's a very, very cool idea. It just might take a long time to get other countries to recognize pieces of their own countries as like part of another jurisdiction. It could take decades, and I don't have that time. So meanwhile, we thought, okay, how do we get fast from an idea, this online community, to having an actual physical new society fast? And Vitaly Buterin made these slides where he also inspired by Balaji here, recreated this at Zuzalu, one of our first experiments. So we were thinking, okay, how do you create something that's one order of magnitude longer than a conference, one order of magnitude more people than a hacker house, which is a bite size that's digestible, right? For people to go for in a resort, 2 months, 200 people, where it's a mini village, and we see how it would feel like to live together with like-minded people in an intentional village. And so we went to Montenegro in this resort and living in close proximity in a remote location. And yeah, it was life-changing for a lot of us. We had healthy food, just by default available, exercised together, tracked our biomarkers, and a lot of rituals. And it was just amazing, better than here, better than San Francisco, Silicon Valley, in terms of this density of this best people, and just walking around and being able to have an awesome conversation with anyone that you cross paths with in this mini village. And wow, like it was like we want to live here, right? And Montenegro was open-minded to create such a special jurisdiction. One of our residents is now Prime Minister of Montenegro, and yeah, things are doing well. It's been 2 years though; it's a bit slow. So we also went to Roatan. So just to kind of talk about like what is a pop-up city. The Zuzalu thing was the first of its kind pop-up city. So you have this idea, online community. Then how do you get to a new society? So we thought, okay, we do a pop-up, but then you still have more steps. Like just because you gathered for 2 months doesn't mean now you have a permanent thing. Most people went back to their lives, and it wasn't ready for people to fully move. How do we get there? So first of all, we didn't have a special jurisdiction. So with Vitalia, we went to Roatan, where there was already a special jurisdiction called Prospera, and we partnered with them and thought, okay, Montenegro is interesting, but like let's try here. Go for 2 months, brought a few hundred people, then stayed longer, and thousands of people came through. And yeah, people built companies during Vitalia, brought therapies to market, gene therapies, advanced therapies. We had, of course, people like Aubrey de Grey and Brian Johnson came by. Brian also brought his father, did gene therapy, and a bunch of friends. And yeah, this is happening, right? Like within just a few months, we've seen Unlimited Bio be created and do a VEGF gene therapy, and more gene therapies started getting created. Unfortunately, there were issues, and now I'm looking for a new location, and we have a Viva City as the name now, building the city to make death optional. And I would love to see a lot of you there. And first of all, the online community, then in these gatherings we do all over the world, then in permanent hubs, because I do think this is like if you look at this question mark, where is it? From a pop-up, how do you get to a permanent new society? I do think we just need to do more pop-ups, and also with these pop-ups we create permanent hubs like this tower, which I'll show you around in a bit. So meanwhile, we're looking for a new location. We have $2 million bounty out, so a prize for anyone that makes introductions to leaders and makes it happen for us to actually create a special jurisdiction, make a partnership with the country where we have quite a broad level of autonomy, a semi-autonomous jurisdiction controlled by us, where we move in and actually build Viva City. If you make the key introduction, you get $1 million. If you make the introduction to the person that introduces us, then you get $500,000, and so on. If you have 2 orders of separation or 3 levels of separation, you still get half of the amount that the next person in the chain, in the referral chain, gets. Right, so in total, it gets to 2 million. So yeah, you can spread the word, and even if someone you know or someone who knows someone you know that spreads the word makes this happen for us, then you still get a significant, probably amount. So I hope that's going to encourage you to spread the word that we are looking for a country to partner with, a host country, and yeah, we have these. We have a tweet that you can find on City of Viva Twitter, or just search my name, or yeah, let me know, or go to referral.viva.city and you can submit a referral. So now Viva Frontier Tower. Here in San Francisco, we have a permanent hub in partnership with Berlin House. There's this 16-story building that I'm in, purchased about 2 months ago, inspired by what we did with Zuzalu and all these pop-up cities, where instead of being in a remote location, in this horizontal resort or village, we're trying out something different, a vertical village. In downtown San Francisco, we have this community hub that's permanent, and we're seeding it with a pop-up village, of course. I see pop-up villages not just as a way to try out the potential special jurisdiction, a potential location for a city, but to also seed something like this. So if you have a co-working space, for example, you can have a launch party, right, when it's empty, and then the next day it will be empty. But if you bring people for something like 6 weeks, like we do here, then people might get used to it. Today we have a hackathon, and this is our event space on the second floor. It's going to take me too long to go through the whole tower, and the Wi-Fi would disconnect, so I can give you a virtual tour. But I do encourage you to visit, especially during these 6 weeks from June 20th until August 3rd. We have amazing people here. It's just mind-blowing. I spend 99% of my time in the tower, I think. I just work, meet people, discuss amazing ideas, and sleep. The idea of a vertical village is it's not just a co-working space. We have labs here. We have healthy food. We're building a clinic. The idea is that everything you can find in a small town, you can find in these 16 floors. And of course, after the pop-up village, we hope this is going to be a success and be permanent. It is purchased, and yeah, assuming everything goes well, this will continue. Assuming financially this works out. But I'm very, very confident. It looks already, it's just the whole San Francisco Bay Area is buzzing about this. It's already amazing. We have also a longevity floor. We have a floor for AI, a floor for crypto, a floor for arts and music and robotics and so on, all these things. But most relevant to you guys, probably the longevity floor, which of course the goal is to accelerate biotech, but also be healthy by default, provide wellness to the whole tower, healthy food, exercising together and all these things, having an actual clinic with doctors, therapies, peptides, exosomes, and so on, having also a hyperbaric oxygen therapy and DEXA scanner and tracking your biomarkers with advanced panels and storing your blood in a blood bank and stem cells and so on. Maybe a cryopreservation facility in here, because a lot of people are signed up to cryo in the Bay Area, and of course the storage would happen separate, but just the facility to prep. And then most importantly, on the longevity floor, we have a sort of incubator to collaborate in our war against aging. Not just biotech companies, but also people create apps that help to coordinate better or work on advocacy, right? Creating a new political party or PAC, political action committee, and things like that. So we'd love to have Transhumanist Party presence here too. So yeah, you have two options: work on curing aging with us, or a random fun side project. With option one, you can do another one. With option two, you're dead. So I very much think that option one is the way to go. Work on curing aging, and then you have time to do everything else. So I would love for each and every one of you to not just be a spectator, to actually do something to coordinate as a swarm, right? Join this private Telegram group, or just apply on viva.city, and then we'll approve you to mention that you're from the Transhumanist Party Salon, and we'll approve you. You can join this Telegram and coordinate, at least, even if you don't have time, even if you're already working on aging, you're 9 to 5, you're doing the research or doing other things. It's still important that we have a group to coordinate, even when there's an announcement, to kind of amplify it. Just every few weeks, take a few seconds to amplify an announcement, or more so to change your career, or more so move to a new city, and just work with us, volunteer, or get a job. Like we have job roles out. We need a chief marketing officer. We need the chief operating officer. We need lawyers and programmers and all kinds of people, not just biologists. So yeah, you can, I hope you can join us. And if you have any questions, suggestions, recommendations, concerns, anything, I'd love to hear in the comments, and yeah, eager to continue the discussion. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Laurence, for an excellent presentation, and our audience agrees. There are numerous remarks to this effect. We do have a question that I think would be interesting for you to address from Mike Lazine, who asks, what did Laurence have to do to get clearance to build essentially what he calls a small town vertical village in San Francisco? Did you need to get city approval and or state approval?
No, because this is a 16-floor vertical village for us, but we haven't modified the building much. Whenever you modify something, you want to put a new plug-in or a socket, right, or electricity. Yes, you do need approvals, but those are rare and they take a long time. And we are working on some approvals. The one thing, the major thing we want, this is a commercial building, and we want to also have co-living here soon. So we put in an application for a permit to have mixed residential and commercial use. Yeah, that's one of the major things. And of course, we want to modify things to the facade to make it look a lot more futuristic, have LEDs and high-tech stuff, and make it look like green, grow food, vertical farming as well on it, and a lot of things. And yeah, some of these require permits. It will take a while. With San Francisco and California, it's not fast, but it's fine. Meanwhile, we occupy the space and we have an amazing time. Yeah.
So you expect that even though the Viva Frontier Tower event is intended to last for 6 weeks, that you will actually be in that tower for much longer than that, since
I will leave. I'm going to build a camp at Burning Man after this, and then I'm going to travel to small countries to talk to government connections that I've made in the past few months, and then hopefully settle on a location and start building the city. Of course, I still will help seed more such permanent hubs in every major city, and there's not just this, maybe a hotel nearby for more residential, and we'll potentially have even more and more over time. You create like a little cul-de-sac or neighborhood with healthy restaurants and living and working and clinics and everything. And it maybe becomes like a Viva town, like a Chinatown, but for longevity, right? A piece of every major town, every major city where it's all the longevity stuff is there.
yes.
On the way to build this city, we at least gotta fill out a tower, and then more towers in other cities, and then a little Viva town in every major city. Because we have this big online network, and people don't necessarily want to move, and they might want to stay where they are. And it's fine. We create something for them there too. But of course, the special jurisdiction where Viva City will be built is where the most frontier, the most impact, the most interesting things will happen. The best people, right? The new, like Silicon Valley is was the frontier, the new West. It used to be the Wild West, right? The farthest away from DC, the newest kind of part of the US, right? Which itself was the West, was the new place to go. The same way Viva City and hopefully other cities like this will be built, which will be the new Silicon Valley, the new West, the new frontier, where the best people go. And the most innovation comes out of that.
Yes, indeed. And I think it's quite promising to have longevity hubs in every major city or major population center, because that's how coordination on the ground begins. And from the standpoint of political activism, I know one challenge the Transhumanist Party faces is that we are so spread out geographically. And if we were to have these hubs starting in major population centers, but spreading out, we would then have people we could reach out to in every jurisdiction if there's legislation that needs to be acted on, or petition signatures that need to be gathered, or some sort of demonstration perhaps that could be arranged. So it is a really good strategy to create these hubs first, and then we can utilize them for multiple purposes. So thank you for those answers, Laurence. And Dr. Jose Cordero now has some questions for you as well.
Yes, please. First of all, congratulations, Laurence, on your presentation. And also, I love your drive and enthusiasm to make things happen. So I truly, truly admire it. As you know, I was in Zuzalu in Montenegro, and I was also in Vitalia in Honduras. Can you explain a little bit what has happened now with Vitalia? Because Vitalia itself has also stopped, and now it is becoming Infinita City in Roatan, and then you have a Viva City.
No, it's yeah. Go ahead.
So that's the first point, if you care to expand on that. And also, I like what you said after Burning Man. You are going to be meeting with some people around the world. And as you know, I have been approaching many people in different places, and I think this is the right time for that. So if you could tell us which are the most promising opportunities you have found so far for Viva City.
Yeah, so with Vitalia, we had slightly different visions, so we split into two, and then also not working with Prosper anymore, not being in Honduras. There's also a bit unrelated, but in a way relevant, that not only did our partnership with Prosper not go well, but also Prosper's partnership with Honduras, or generally the jurisdictions in Honduras called ZEDES, it didn't go that well. Generally, the Honduras government was upset. A lot of the people were upset. I think it could have been handled better. Now, of course, I'm not a fan of the current Honduras government. The Supreme Court declared that these jurisdictions are unconstitutional and with retroactive effect, which makes no sense. It's really bad, but I do think in the future, there are a lot of learnings from that. So first of all, you gotta not just have the legal right to have a special jurisdiction, because we have a new government, or the people might be scared of what's going to happen and so on. You have to also provide a lot of value and fast to the people. They don't have the patience to wait for promises and delays and all that. So moving fast, bringing a lot of people quickly, creating a lot of jobs, a lot of investment, actually creating a hospital, especially when it comes to a medical innovation zone, bringing top talent, doctors, a tier 1 hospital there where the locals can also benefit from it. And they would be, I think, a lot happier. They're getting some benefits, sharing dividends with them, sharing generally upside, even though it's on paper, stocks, tokens, whatever, where they feel, okay, there's some value here on paper. Maybe, within 4 years, this unlocks and this is going to be successful and I'll be rich too. Like, they have a piece of the pie, right? Where everyone grows with the success of this city. That's my approach. And it's also interesting how in crypto as well, you see a token being created and then there's an airdrop to the existing community. Everyone is brought in, and it's like, instead of having 100% of a pie that will not succeed and will get shut down, it's much better to have like 80% of a pie that will grow big and be successful, right? So I very much believe in like sharing with the locals so that they're happy, they feel there's a lot of value in this, so they won't get shut down. And I do hope that these jurisdictions in Honduras will continue. as the new government. I mean, there's an election, and maybe there's going to be a new government, and maybe things are going to work out, and I really do hope so. I wish Prospera the best, and all the other jurisdictions, and I hope more will be able to be created. There's Morazan and Orquídea. There's 3 jurisdictions in Honduras, and I do hope more can be created, and more competition. I'm not so interested in Honduras. I mentioned Montenegro. I tried not to mention other names much, where we haven't done much yet publicly. I'm definitely looking around the Caribbean a lot, and I'm connected to a bunch of the leaders in these countries, small countries in the Caribbean, a little bit South America, and then Eastern Europe as well is a big focus. Just a few of the Eastern European countries that are not in the EU. And then, yeah, we have an option in Asia, we have an option in Africa, but they're not a high priority because they're far from our community is mainly in the US and Europe, and it's harder for our people to move. And but I'm open to pretty much anyone in the world. It's just a matter of prioritization.
Okay, and there is also another initiative that you probably know as well called Immortalis. Immortalis is also looking for a place where to start up a new city with a new law and to push for these longevity ideas. Have you been in contact with them, or do you know of these or other initiatives?
Yes. So we're kind of overdue to chat more. I did meet Wallace in person I think in Singapore, after the Network State Conference, maybe the Network School too. But yeah, I definitely should chat more with them. And yeah, I'm eager to see what's up. I've just been building here in San Francisco, and yeah, I hope they can come. I know you're closer to them, so I hope they come by here.
And I do believe Wallace Hamilton is, or at least was, in the YouTube chat, and he remarked favorably upon your presentation, Laurence. So I think there are definitely opportunities for the two of you to connect. And we also have Mark Hamilton, who stated really potent points were being made regarding your presentation. And he also pointed to severe overregulation in the United States being 100% the problem. He writes, to cure age-related diseases, we must cure big bureaucracy, starting with the FDA. And I'm curious if you see this as a strategy to get around some of the barriers with the FDA and motivate reform after certain treatments, or a more expedited approach to experimenting with and approving these treatments is demonstrated to be effective in these longevity jurisdictions, longevity cities, then perhaps in countries like the United States, the governments could take a second look at the processes with the FDA and liberalize them and make those treatments also available to their own citizens.
Yeah, exactly. That's on point. Severe overregulation, FDA is a problem. We need to exit and show a better way. And then, of course, people can come to our special jurisdiction, come to Viva City in the future and get these therapies. But imagine how is it gonna look like when your neighbor in the US goes to this remote location and comes back rejuvenated, or they don't have Alzheimer's anymore, or they, and you're seeing okay, but my father also has Alzheimer's. That guy cured it over there in some other country in this other jurisdiction, they're going to demand, be like, what do you mean? Like the US needs to create warp speed again, right? Like with COVID, just and pass it through the FDA fast so that we can have it here in the US too. Everyone will demand this. Rejuvenation, curing these age-related diseases, or improving them a lot, where it's like, it's going to be a no-brainer, right? So the FDA will be lobbied. There will be huge advocacy efforts for this.
Yes, indeed. And hopefully that will be the outcome that arises. Now, I think a lot of our audience members are curious about Frontier Tower and essentially the logistics of the event that you will be putting together in the next 6 weeks. So what will that look like in terms of people who want to come there, people who want to take part? How should they essentially proceed in making arrangements? Are there like different experiences, different tiers of participation that could happen in the Frontier Tower event?
Yeah, here's the poster. Yeah, I don't know how to show it better. So it's 6 weeks. There's 3 tracks of 2 weeks each. So we have the longevity track first, with the summit at the beginning. So opening ceremony, like people arrive on the June 20th, then opening ceremony on June 21st. Then we have June 22, 23, the longevity summit. So it starts with that. The rest of the 2 weeks, we'll do a bunch of self-organized workshops. The community, the residents here will put up sessions. Some are more intellectual, where you teach people something like hack your own genome or whatever, workshops or talks or circle discussions. Some are more lifestyle, where we do yoga together, we maybe meditate or have a book club, a running club, writing club, all kinds of things like that, accountability partnerships, and so on and so on. That's been my favorite part of Zuzalu, Vitalia, Zeller City, and all these that we've created, is just the co-living aspect with like-minded people. My life has improved so much. I couldn't really see myself live any other way at this point. I got to be surrounded by my people. Then we have the AI track, also 2 weeks. And then the crypto track, also 2 weeks. And there is a bit of a thing here where it's like, it's actually, all of it is cross-disciplinary. Of course, we bring AI and crypto into the longevity track. Of course, we bring longevity and crypto into the AI track, and so on. It's just more of a, if you're really most interested in one and you only come for 2 weeks or just for 2 days for a summit, then that's when you come. So the AI summit is actually in the middle, July 12, 13, because the first weekend would have been 4th of July. Amazing Independence Day barbecue, 4th of July. We have a wedding of one of our community members that actually came to Zuzalu. Then the guy proposed in one of the Zuzalu town halls that are organized, and then they got engaged there, and then they're gonna have the wedding here in the tower during the pop-up. I love to see that. We also have an actual baby that was created at Zuzalu, and startups, a lot of startups. I love to see this. The best part is the connections that people create. This is not a conference, right? It's not like a 6-week conference. It's something different. In a conference, it's just I can't really do conferences anymore. It's like, it's a bit annoying. Like you just you change a business card. I don't even really know you. It's so short. All the lectures, nobody really listens to them. They're on their phone or their laptop or whatever. People socialize a bit, but it's so superficial versus living together with people for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 months, or longer. And the thing is that we go to many of these, so like we kind of develop relationships even longer term. Sometimes I just don't even know what someone does for like until the end of the thing, where we just build such an amazing friendship, and we talk about all kinds of ideas, but I might not know their exact job. And then I sometimes found out towards the end of it, oh, actually, you work for this company that actually we should have a partnership with. And then we do, right? Because we've already built an amazing connection. Yeah. Then we have healthy food every day, like lunch is included. We have an incubator program across the 6 weeks, a demo day at the end. So it's you learn how to pitch your startup, how to fundraise, how to build product, how to talk to customers, all these things, and actually have the top investors being in Silicon Valley here. You have a demo day where you can get in front of them, raise money. We also have a bunch of other parallel tracks across the 6 weeks from each of the communities here. The robotics floor, we'll do a robotics track. We have a neurotech track to measure your brain age and all these things, a bunch of devices to play with. There's the lab, right, where you can actually build a project in there. There's an arts and music track. I want to actually learn how to mix music over the 6 weeks and so on. It's just, it's life, and it's also good for the mission, good for the soul too. And you don't have to come for the 6 weeks. You can come for just a little bit. I do warn you, a lot of times people have come, and I'm sure some of you have seen this, where you come for like a few days or a week or two, and then and then people keep trying to, postpone their flights, and then they have a hard time with accommodation because someone else booked it after. And I encourage the leap of faith. Actually, our price, unfortunately, we do have these kind of tiers because we need to know exactly how many people. So we will have from June 10th only a few spots reserved, and the price will go up. So actually, if you apply now, you can hold your spot for a bit longer. But yeah, June 10th is when the price goes up. Is the last day of the standard rate, and it gets into late bird. And we're not sure how many people we can approve after that.
Yes, June 10th, so that's in 2 days. And one thing to keep in mind also is airplane tickets become more expensive if one chooses flights that are proximate in time. Like I had a situation where I wasn't sure about my schedule for attending Vitalist Bay, and I ended up ordering a flight about 2 weeks before a particular conference, and it cost me essentially $500 for a round trip flight, not a long distance between Reno and Oakland. And usually I could get a flight like that for under $150 both ways.
Yeah.
So that is important to consider.
I forgot to mention Vitalist Bay. Was just ended a few weeks ago in Berkeley. We had a 2-month gathering just of Vitalists, so all longevity focus, which is a smaller community. I like to have this cross-disciplinary approach. A lot of people that are in AI or in crypto also want to live longer, and there are ways for them to help us. We do need to use AI tools, and we do need them as engineers in these companies. And so a lot of people that are just normally in AI, they think longevity is cool, but I'm not a biologist. No. You can be around us and then actually work on AI for one of the longevity companies, or with crypto, things like VItaDAO, things like Viva City need to be governed and fundraise with crypto and so on, and it helps the mission. But yeah, with Vitalist Bay, it was also really amazing to be with just people that are like true vitalists, dedicated to this mission, without all the debates about health span, or what about there's death gives life meaning, and we want to live a bit longer but not that much longer, it's fine that we die one day. Come on, life is definitely good, death is definitely bad. It's amazing when you're just with people that see this.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, Josh Universe has a compliment for you. He writes, Laurence is one of the most genuine people out there. So thank you, Josh. I can second that, since you and I actually happen to be on the same plane going to RadFest from Reno to Anaheim. And it was just sheer coincidence that we happened to be on the same flight, and we had a great conversation on the way there. Now, we also have a question from Luis Arroyo, who writes, how could these types of alternative environments and communities be made accessible to those who want it? And what are the chances, in your view, of a pop-up city or village like this being established in a place like New York City, another population center in the US?
Yeah, accessibility is a big focus. We've always made it possible for a lot of people to join regardless of financial circumstances. We have scholarships available, and we've just given way more scholarships than we had funds for, honestly. Like we just try to make this life-changing for a lot of us, and spark this movement. So yeah, we still have some scholarships available. It's not like perfect at this point. Like financially, it's a bit tougher to give like full scholarship. But if people cover some costs, at least food, for example, then that's good. Or we have some for really exceptional people. We can still cover a full scholarship.
Excellent. And also, I'm curious.
And regarding New York City, yes, we of course want to have a pop-up and a permanent hub there too. I am focusing on LA first, though. After San Francisco, LA is important because of Hollywood. We bring these ideas to Hollywood, then they spread these ideas to everyone else.
I just returned from a trip to the LA area yesterday, and it is an interesting place. I would say there are potential techno-optimists. Of course, a few transhumanists I know reside in the LA area, but there are other techno-optimists. There's a nice Google campus there that I visited. And also, Google has its autonomous vehicles. They're branded as Waymo vehicles that are open for people to take rides in various parts of LA, including the downtown area and the northwest suburbs of Los Angeles. So I availed myself of the opportunity to take 3 rides in Waymo autonomous vehicles. I think there will be people there who have more immediate experience with recent emerging technologies, who may be drawn to something like a longevity pop-up city as well. We also have a comment from Mike Lazine. It's amazing what deathists tell themselves to rationalize dying, and that's in regard to all those people who say, well, we want to have greater health span, but not greater lifespan. And my explanation for this is these are flimsy rationalizations from people who want to seem normal, who want to seem mainstream and conform to what they think the predominant opinion is, even if that doesn't really make logical sense. They want to try to make it seem logical to them in their minds. So they make these pro-death statements, even though they're not against certain technologies for health extension. But the way to overcome that is for that view to no longer be mainstream, for there to be hubs, communities where the opposite view is held, that death is wrong and we should do everything we can to fight it. So thank you for working on this. And Josh Universe says we need a Viva City pop-up in Miami for crypto governance systems. And Zach says they should focus more on Miami as well. So that's another suggestion. It seems that people want these pop-up cities near either where they live or urban centers
Sure.
they consider important. So now,
and my answer to that is, okay, build one. We need people to scale these. I can't do them myself. So we can support you in building a center in your city, not just a pop-up, but actually use the pop-up to seed a permanent space, either leased long-term or bought as a space, as real estate. And then, people passing by that place can always go in, get a membership, or you can even have a storefront, like a coffee shop that instead of just being a coffee shop, you can add some, NMN coffee or whatever. You can make it a longevity nootropics bar or something as well. And then in the back or downstairs or upstairs or whatever, you can have a members section with co-working, with maybe even longevity clinic, like wellness clubs, social clubs, type Soho house. It doesn't have to be a 16-story building like in San Francisco, but I do love this vertical village type thing. And it's actually, in my opinion, easier to raise the money to do something ambitious and brave like this than to have something small and have like your mom and pop business kind of thing.
Yeah, speaking of raising money, I would be curious to hear you discuss that to a greater extent. How were you able to raise the funds to purchase a 16-story building? What did that entail? Whom did you need to persuade for that?
So we've historically, with Zuzalu, was like fully funded by Vitalik. Then Vitalia, we had also VCs and angel investors and so on. We're building this amazing business, and with Viva City, it's just a split, so we have the same investors. And the business model, just if you want, I can quickly give a point on that. It's not events, of course. It's the fact that we're going to build this big network of people. We're building a one-stop shop for longevity, a product where you go online and not just be part of a group chat, but rather you can have everything there.
Oh, it looks like you went on mute. There you are.
Sorry, just my AirPods, one of them went out of battery, so.
No problem. We can still hear you
now?
clearly. Yes. Yes,
yeah,
we can
so first, like this longevity one-stop shop that we're building, you can go to this one location, have a membership, and have blood tests included, longevity consultations, things that you can do today as well. Like people really need something to do now, and of course, in a sort of partnership Venn diagram with VItaDAO and all these other things, to also direct some of that capital into funding research that can actually stop or reverse aging eventually. And then also, once we have a special jurisdiction, we will capture a percentage of the upside from these therapies that can be, given to billions of people, can capture a lot of value too. So it's also like a piece of $1 trillion, $2 trillion kind of business industry, longevity, once it succeeds. Then also when you build a city, it's really interesting because you're starting with land that is very cheap, undeveloped, under $1 a square foot. And then you can get that to a point where if you have a lot of people, like Hong Kong, Dubai kind of level, thousands of dollars per square foot. So you have potentially thousands X or 100,000X return potential, like with the VC funded startup on just the land. But then you have downside protection because, if you fail, a startup can go to zero. Land you can still sell it probably for the same amount you bought it, or if you developed it, it can even be great return there, even though it's not VC level, it can still be great. So yeah, real estate is interesting. Like venture real estate is even more interesting. Making a city, the real estate component also is really fascinating. So you have this big network, the membership fees, the crypto token aspect, and so on. Then the longevity therapeutics and the real estate of building a new city. It's I've never seen a business model like this. It's unprecedented return profile. The expected value, for example, from the land thing is much higher than usual because you have that downside protection. The expected value of the longevity therapeutics is like huge, right? There's nothing like it, with maybe the exception of super intelligence. And then, crypto networks can grow really big and be fast growth and a huge return. So that's I'm very happy. I've never seen a business model like this, and it's been easy fundraising. Then on the tower itself, it's an ambitious project. We have a partnership with Berlin House, so we helped bring in the money and the people, but it's not owned by us directly. It was pretty fast to raise the money. High net worth individuals, with this vision of like an empty building downtown San Francisco, very cheap compared to what it used to be, because real estate after COVID has gone down. Commercial real estate is a very, very low. So people don't really go to the office anymore and so on. But this is a new concept, right? It's a vertical village. People want to be here and they are paying membership. We already have a few hundred members in the tower generally. The bet is that, the bet so far has been looking great. It's looking successful. So it was an argument that we made, and with all our pedigree and things we've done in the past, and with the partnership with Berlin House, these guys, Jacob and Christian and CHP from Berlin, they have also amazing pedigree, and they're amazing guys, amazing partners. They put in their own money. They brought in a lot of their previous investors, and I'm very happy with the outcome.
Yes, thank you for that discussion. And it looks like quite a vibrant place thus far, just from what you showed us. Yeah. I'm curious, after the 6-week event, if somebody wants to, say, reserve a room at the Frontier Tower, would they be able to do that for a more extended period of time? Or on the other hand, if someone travels to the area and decides to stay somewhere else at a hotel or an Airbnb, would they be able to visit the Frontier Tower and perhaps participate in some later events that are held there, or interact with the residents there if they're interested in longevity or AI or cryptocurrencies or other emerging technologies?
That's the plan. And also we encourage you to come at this inaugural historic pop-up village. I know that people procrastinate if they know that they can come later. Like you never know. Like first of all, you want to be there at the beginning. You want to be there in this concentrated period, and then hopefully you'll be successful, and even more successful within a few years. But you never know. And also, there's no better time to come than these 6 weeks. The plan is that yes, you will be able to reserve an office and eventually also a bedroom once the permits are in.
Yes, thank you. And presumably you have yet to secure the residential permits. So for this initial 6-week event, would you expect that people would need to get their own hotel accommodations elsewhere in the area?
So there's a hotel nearby that is taken over for a few months with 30 rooms. Then we have a hackathon floor here. We have a 6-week hackathon as well, where there's some private offices that allow people to nap in temporarily. We have a bunch of housing options. Some people also offered us like free rooms in their houses for our scholars, like when we give a scholarship. And we're quite full in terms of housing options. Ideally, people find their own. And we have a Telegram group where some people coordinate to get places nearby and live together too. But we can help a bit. So don't hesitate to apply and get in touch.
Yes, thank you. This reminds me a bit of the situation with Vitalist Bay. Vitalist Bay did have some housing at the Lighthaven campus, but it filled up very quickly. So I ended up attending 4 of the 8 Vitalist Bay conferences, and I was staying in a different hotel or Airbnb in Berkeley every time. And I ended up walking around quite a bit and becoming fairly well acquainted with the town of Berkeley. So that was an interesting experience. I would say probably for most of our viewers, if you're interested in attending any of the Frontier Tower events, do start looking at hotel accommodations. And if you're interested in exploring any of the options that Laurence mentioned, get in touch with the appropriate people, join the Telegram group. But yes, it does take some creativity to figure out something that works for oneself in that kind of situation. And I do hope you get the residential permits eventually, because that would be a massive convenience to the residents if they can just reserve a room in the same building. I know some of my favorite conferences were held in hotels where I could get a room in the exact same building, and then I could just come downstairs for the conference. Now, I do wonder if Art Ramon has any questions or comments.
Just that this business model kind of reminds me of a lot like artist communities that sort of build up in kind of lower end areas, usually as artist lofts, but then broke artists live in the artist loft, and but then they get accused of gentrifying the area, because they kind of bring it up economically, and then they get accused of gentrifying the area and getting rid of poorer people in the area. So would that be a problem where your location is at? I mean, is there housing in that area, or is it strictly just office buildings that are just underutilized?
There is housing nearby. Yeah, there are hotels, but also apartment buildings. Things are expensive in San Francisco, but yeah, this area is not great. The 610 Market Street, it's getting way better. It's getting cleaned up, and that's one of the things. The reason it was also not great is because during COVID, people stopped going to the office. Then the restaurants and every business nearby ran out of business. So it's like super vacant on the commercial areas. And so a lot of homeless people have kind of, made it their home. But now we're bringing back people. We're reinvigorating the area. And rents probably went down in the area. And now they're probably going to get back up. But what can you do? That's supply and demand, right? Like if more people want to live here and it's better, then the prices go up. The way to do it, of course, is to own a piece, and we with owning the tower too, it's about giving it to the community to govern it with a crypto token, and everyone can own a piece. Just the key is to get in early so that you have a piece, and then even though the prices go up, you financially are also benefiting from riding that wave with the value that you also are creating by coming there. And especially coming early, you create more value because, and anyone can come when it's already successful. The early adopters that come when it's not clear if they will be successful, they deserve, and they have the biggest impact and deserve more upside.
Yeah, I remember going to certain areas in Dallas, and there were sort of areas that got artistically gentrified, to put it that way. Then it kind of built up a bar scene, and it was very popular at a place called Deep Ellum. But then things turned, and they kind of went back down, and then it kind of people left. So it could be a bit of a risk, going into an area like that. So yeah, it's just my experience. Thank you.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, thank you, Art Ramon and Laurence. And now, Zach, I know you have other questions you want to ask Laurence, so please go ahead.
I've actually felt like this was pretty comprehensive. I was really interested in everything he's said so far. I think this may be a one point where I don't actually have an additional question, but this has been great so far.
All right. Well, let us continue for the next 14 minutes. And Daniel Tweed was wondering, when you were in that room with the more ornate wallpaper, do you know who the faces on that wallpaper are?
I don't. I was wondering that myself too. I just haven't had the time to ask or look into it.
Yes.
Okay, maybe I've got something. So can you tell me a little bit about so what is going on with Prospera? Like I felt so bad thinking about if I wanted to kind of Google what's going on with the tension between you and Prospera. Like, am I searching for drama or am I not? But at the same time, I feel like it may be something that's very interesting for us to know with what is the issue with Prospera, because we have some members of the Transhumanist Party that are saying like, okay, well, maybe Xiomara has some points that the previous conservative government was a little bit too quick to jump the gun on saying we should have this freedom zone. But I've always supported Prospera's mission, and I actually was sort of late to just finish the Don't Die documentary and see, okay, he had a procedure done on Prospera. So what was your issue, Laurence, with Prospera? And if you could say as much as you can or as you'd like to, with what is holding them back that made you say that that's not the place to have your vision enacted in?
Right. So it's at this point it's harder, right? Because as I mentioned, the Supreme Court of Honduras declared that these zones, these ZEDs, are unconstitutional, and I hope that there will be a way around that. There will be some kind of solution, and I'm pretty confident. Like, the guys at Prospera are smart, and they can probably figure it out. And this is very important. We need more of these. Like, the original vision was that, like, the reason we went to Montenegro too is just to have another one. It's just a slightly different approach. I'm a lot more, bottom up, kind of by the people for the people, DAO governing the city. So we just have slightly different approaches. So that's one reason we split up. And I'm open-minded generally. I'm hoping to see that
Can you elaborate what you mean by this, by the people, for the people? Because I feel like one of the sort of complaints I've heard from at least the area that's sort of against Prospera is like, well, these are these greedy capitalists coming in and they're offering, sure, a little bit more than base wage, but hey, they're building buildings that are twice the local building code. They're doing their own thing. Who knows what's going to happen to our community? It's these rich white tech bros coming in from another country. These aren't our people. So, when you say by the people, for the people, maybe you could elaborate a little bit what you mean by that.
Yeah. There's this idea of governing a city like a company, the more authoritarian approach. Singapore is run, really well as an authoritarian regime. It's just not really my vibe. Maybe it's more efficient. I just also think when it comes to, like, Prospera is a general charter city, right? My focus is on longevity, medical innovation. If you have any side effects and, you can be accused of some, like, when you do a lot of trials or even when it comes to the COVID vaccine, for example, right? Like, there's billions of people that have taken the vaccine, and then also people die every day. And so it will happen that someone will die right after taking the vaccine or the day after. And it might look like a correlation, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's causation, that someone died right after taking this vaccine or this other medicine or so on. Now, of course, you can actually look into and figure out if there is a causal relationship there. But, actually, in the court of public opinion, with mainstream media, with PR, and Western world being very much pro-democracy and so on. I can see the accusations of like, oh, someone went there and had a side effect or died because of the therapy, and even though there's no proof, right? It can all just be like words, accusations, right? And people don't really go into look into the science or something. They will just say, oh, of course, something bad happened. And whose fault is it? Well, this leader, there's the CEO to the city, and like it looks, like a dictator. It looks bad. It's like, oh, dictator doing experiments on people. I'm really worried about that kind of way of looking at it. So I'm not sure that's a good approach. And I do also know that when you have that approach, the leader of the city will have an incentive to do some of the same things that are done everywhere else and not take risks, because it's ultimately their head that falls if something goes wrong. Even if they didn't do anything wrong, it's just like they will care very much about PR. Whereas when it's really controlled by the people, when it's a DAO, it's all democratic, controlled bottom up about what is allowed and what isn't there. Now, of course, it's not a good idea it's not efficient to vote about everything and have everything be a popular vote. Like if you build a bridge, you don't want the people in that city to vote where each bolt goes. Like, no. You just make sure that that's a sort of layer of accountability where the people oversee or sort of make sure that nothing crazy is going on. But you go to a company and maybe you have some representative democracy, or even what I like more is like liquid democracy, where you delegate and you have reputation-based things, where you have more like the people who have done a lot in construction have more of a say on that bridge, or more specifically on which company will get the contract to build the bridge, and then the company is run, like a company, more top down, and as we've seen works best. I'm all for going with what works best. So companies can execute, and then the people decide how they live their lives. So that's the approach. But also, there's another thing to be mentioned here. The whole point at the beginning was to create another one, because we were worried, what if Prospera is going to get shut down? We were seeing, or Morazan, or the other one, or Orquídea, this jurisdiction in Honduras. We were seeing that Honduras was talking about shutting them down, right? So it was actually a good idea for us to go to Montenegro and other places to try to create new ones. It's been a bit slow, so we kind of also did a partnership with Prospera, and that's fine that we're going our separate ways now. Like, I really think we need to focus on creating other ones, especially now since there's even bigger problems in Honduras. I do want those problems to go away. I do want Prospera to continue and succeed, but I'm just going to focus somewhere else. And we have slight differences, but also it's good to have diversity of approaches. And we have a focus on medical innovation.
It sounds like part of the reason you were saying, though, with Honduras and Prospera in general, though, is that there may be too much of a centralized power structure such that it would perhaps be not enough medical experimentation, because there would be a negative incentive that one person at the top would have certain repercussions happen to them, and therefore they would want to have an artificial level of suppressing some level of experimentation, even though in that scenario it would be still far better than what's going on in, for example, the United States. Is that correct?
Yeah. Incentives matter a lot, right? So when you have a group of people that are self-experimenting and self-determining their own laws and regulations, you might say that group of people is a bit crazy, that they are allowing themselves to and injecting themselves with things, right? But it's kind of up to them. Like, who are you to tell them what they can and cannot do, right?
Well, sure, but what would you say to the people that say that sort of top-down structure is what's protecting those people, and that if we have it if we don't have the centralized structure that's controlling that protection, then people are going to have more negative effects, and that we need some sort of level of accountability. And in your ideal situation, what is the level of accountability? Does it come down to the true ANCAP idea of you sign a waiver, so there you go?
I think there's a great framework here where, first of all, you have a basic basis of common law, where you have courts and judges, and they can, if someone has caused harm to someone else, given a drug that was toxic or something, you can punish them. As the judge can say, look, you've done a poor job, you lied, or you didn't do the proper things, right? And you get punished. But that doesn't prevent harm. That only punishes harm after. So you want to also prevent harm. So on top of this basis of common law, what you want is a regulatory framework that finds that optimal balance between how much regulation you want, how much oversight you want. So it's not a free-for-all where you just allow people to do whatever. You require regulatory insurance before selling a drug to someone else, right? So that if you just have one insurance company, that's basically FDA, right? FDA is like an insurance company in that sense, of like an insurance company that insures liability, or like regulatory insurance. They would have to pay if harm gets, if there's someone who's harmed, because that person can sue and get money, and so the liability insurance will have to pay out. And of course, an insurance company wouldn't want to pay out, so they say, I will only insure this drug or this company, therefore allowing it to be sold only if it follows some basic safety checks, right? Or like, kind of determining that optimal level where it's, because if you have multiple insurance companies, then they compete. So if one insurance company is too much like the FDA and it just has all this bureaucracy and nonsense, asking for all these things that take a lot of time and a lot of money, then their competitor is going to win the business, right? So you also have competition to make sure you're fast and you're cheap. So then you're seeing the cost of inaction too. You're accounting for it in the incentive structure by allowing competition. So it's not monopolistic and paternalistic. It's really just what's rational, how you want to make sure that people don't get hurt, not only because you personally want to, but because you, as the insurance company, would lose money, right? So there's the capitalist incentive there as well, to do a good job on ensuring safety. So you don't leave people to their own, just, you signed the liability waiver. I do want more and more medical freedom, but I think this is a good level. Common law basics, and then requiring liability insurance. And then on top of that, when it comes to efficacy, because that's also, people, it's not just about safety. People are worried about snake oil selling. So with efficacy, you just don't allow people to take a profit. It's just sell at cost until you prove efficacy, and then you can make a profit.
Yes. And I will say,
I like that.
Yes. I will say I had an extensive conversation about this with Trey Goff of Prospera back in 2024 at Longevity Summit Dublin. So those who are interested in finding out more, please look up that conversation on my YouTube channel, Trey Goff, Goff. And Laurence, thank you very much for joining us today. Unfortunately, our time for this salon is coming to an end, though we have had a fascinating and wide-ranging conversation, and thank you for the presentation and the little tour you provided of Frontier Tower. Hopefully all of us will be able to make it over there at some point at least, and those who are thinking of coming for the 6-week conferences, the 6-week event that's coming up, act quickly, because there are advantageous rates now in the next 2 days, and it'll be easier to find accommodations the sooner you begin your search. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and I hope we can all live long and prosper.